So it's very dangerous to imprecate against anybody, and you have to think twice before you do that. It is permissible to make dua against the tyrants, and it's better to do that with general terms and not with specific terms. Don't use specific names and things like that. It's better like Allahumma ahmi ahad al-sham, Allahumma ij'al kayd al-ka'idin alayhim fi nuhurihim, speaking more in generals than getting into the specifics, because you don't know people's ends and you don't know what Allah wants with people. And the people in power are also in a very difficult position. It's very easy to condemn people in power, but the reality of it is, and this is something very hard for people to grapple with, the reality of the people of power, of the Ahl al-Zahir, is, according to Imam al-Tartushi, because of the mercy of God, they tend to be the least corruptible people from the people of Zahir. In other words, if you took other people in the same society from Ahl al-Zahir and put them in the same position, they would be worse than them. And that's from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He tends to take the least corruptible people from the Ahl al-Zahir. And Abu Bakr al-Tartushi says he doesn't put the people of Batin in those positions out of his love for them, because of the profoundly corruptible nature of being in those positions. So it's very rare for people to get into positions of power and not be susceptible to corruption, which is why, in my opinion, the best types of rulers are kings. I would much rather be under a constitutional monarchy than a democracy or a tyranny. And the reason for that is that kings are the least corruptible people. They're the least susceptible to corruption. Because a king, he's either corrupt in and of himself, but you cannot corrupt a king. You can't bribe him with money. You can't bribe him with power. You can't bribe him with women. You can't bribe him with any of the susceptible things of dunya, because he has it all, and he's had it all since he was in the palace. They grow up in the palace. They grow up around every whim being answered. So if you get a righteous king, it's something amazing. But people that get into power, who are outside of power, those people are so easily corrupted by power. Just happens so quick. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Ni'mal murda' wa bi'sal Fatima." What a good wet nurse is power, and what a wretched weaner. Because once they get on the nipple of power, they just don't want to let go because of all that they can do. And just that feeling of being in that position of power. But it's a wretched wiener. Like this idiot who just got killed. I mean, now he's with his Lord, but when he sent them in apparently to the army and to Homs, he said, you can do everything but be merciful. Allahu Alam, but that's what the report was. But now these guys, the defense minister, they have to. Now they're in the graves. They're going to be answerable for everything they did. So, but that's the reality of those people, and you don't want to be around them. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said, if I fasted, if I stayed in prayer all night, لو قمت الليل كله وصمت النهار كله ولم أبغض أهل المعصية. He said, لم ينفعني ذلك من شيء. None of that would be a benefit. If you pray all night, fast all day, but you don't despise disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why when you see it, Allahumma innahu lamunkar ankarna. Like Ibn Umar said, Allahumma innahu lamunkar ankarna. Walau qadarna la ghayyarna. That's the least that you should do when you see it. Oh Allah, it's a munkar, and if I was able, I would change it. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ الْإِنْكَارُ فِي الْقَلْبِ. Just to reject it in the heart. And Imam Shafi'i, أُحِبُّ الصَّالِحِينَ وَلَسْتُ مِنْهُمْ. I love the people of Salah, and I'm not one of them. And that was his humility. And it's not false humility, that's how he saw himself. And that's the righteous people are like that. If they see themselves as righteous, then they're in a state of kibr, because they're witnessing, they have rida bin nafs, and it's very dangerous. But that's what he said, وَأَرْجُو أَنْ أَنَالَ بِهِمْ شَفَاعَةً وَأُبْغِضُ مَنْ بِضَاعَةُ الْمَعَاصِي وَلَوْ كُنَّا سَوَاءً فِي الْبِضَاعَةِ. And I detest the people of ma'asiyah, even if we're the same in our behavior. Like he's saying, even if our commerce, what we're selling is the same bida'a, even if we have the same product, which is sinfulness. So even if you're sinful, you should still despise sinfulness. Tfaddal. You know, and then just one other thing that he points out that's important too, is that sometimes you're in the majalis of fisq out of necessity. Like there are people in business and things that have to be in certain circumstances where normally they would not do. And this is where you get into mudarat and mudahanat. Mudarat, the difference between mudarat and mudahanat. The mudarat, in Arabic, the one yudari, is to, I just started. Did we start late? Oh, my apologies. What's that? Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. No mudarat there. So mudarat is being gentle with the people of disobedience in the hopes that they get guided. This is really important. So, for instance, Izz ibn Abdus Salam, one of the great scholars, and he was a student of Abul Hasan al-Shadhili. Izz ibn Abdus Salam, when he went into the ruler, he said to him, he said, what kind of robe is that? He said, it's pure silk. He said, you know, I noticed your servants wear the same silk. He said, yes, they do. He said, you know, I don't think it's really appropriate for the sultan to be wearing the same kind of clothes that his servants wear. He said, there's actually a really fine cotton that's nicer than that on the skin, and very expensive. And then he said, and also it'll get you out of the nahi, the prohibition of the thing. And that's an example of somebody using wisdom and hikmah. Had he come in and said, yeah, to sultan, تدعي أنك مسلم وتلبس هذا حرير النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن ذلك من أنت, you know, that type of approach. ولو كنت فظا غليظ القلب لانفضوا من حولك. Had you been harsh and a hard-hearted one, they would have all dispersed from around you. The Prophet ﷺ, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It's a mercy of Allah that you were made gentle. So the Prophet كان لين العريكة, he had a gentle nature, and he was always gentle when he spoke to people. Even the gruff Bedouin that pulled him until he got the mark on his thing, and he said, أعطيني مما. And the Prophet said, why should I give you? He said, he realized what he'd done. And then he said, oh, because you don't repay a wrong with a right. With another wrong, you pay it with the right. And then the Prophet smiled and gave him. That's the way the Prophet ﷺ was. So it's important just to remember that you're in situations and you have to know your niyyah. Mudarat is when you want their guidance. Mudahanat is when you want something from them. Like being around people of sinfulness, but you want to benefit from them materially or financially or because of their networking or whatever. So that's more of hypocrisy. Next one.
ونظر المرأة من فوق
No,
الثياب.
hold on. So كنظر تعظيما أو إزراء للأغنياء أو بني غبراء. So looking at people who are wealthy with ta'zim, exalting them because of their wealth. Now, if they're people of wealth and they're spending it fi sabilillah, these people have a high maqam because of their rarity. Because the majority of the people of wealth don't spend it fi sabilillah. So when you meet people of wealth that spend it fi sabilillah, those people should be honored. And the Prophet ﷺ honored those people. And he had those people around him. And very often, even amongst the people, the al-qawm, if the wealthy people would come in who supported the madrasa and gave infaq, they would always give them a special place. And that's not nifaq with the people of wealth. It's honoring them and recognizing that without them, we're in a place, people of wealth funded the renovation of this place. So if those people come, then the people that are running this place, they're obliged to honor them. But it's also important to remember when Umar radiallahu anhu came into the masjid and found a man just doing dhikr. And he said, Man yaqutuka, who's taking care of you? And he said, Akhi. He said, Akhuka afdalu minka. And then he left. He said, your brother is better than you. Now, Umar, this is a misunderstood tradition. Because people say, oh, it's like darwasha, and the man outside is better. No, he was from the people of tajreed in the masjid, from the people that were doing without. And his brother was from the people of asbab. But what Umar was saying is, don't get arrogant, because you're in here doing dhikr. Remember the one supporting you, who's getting all the reward of your dhikr, and then he's getting the reward of supporting you as well. So he's better than you. Because he's enabling you to do this. And that's why it's very important to acknowledge those people. I was commanded to treat people according to their manazil. That we're not egalitarian in that way. We have a spiritual hierarchy that we recognize, and we have a meritocracy that we recognize. People are not equal. They're equal before Allah. An-nasu sawasiya. And if you look at, actually in Arabic, sawasiya means they're all equal in their capacity to sin. But the an-nasu ka-asnan al-misht, people are like the combs of that's all true. The tongues of the comb, that's true. People are like that. But the Prophet ﷺ, the people around him, it's based on meritocracy. Not all of the Sahaba are of the same maqam. Abu Bakr is not of the same maqam as the other Sahaba. He had a higher maqam than all of them. And it wasn't for something, it was something that Allah put in his heart, as the Prophet ﷺ said. But it was also all that he was doing. Jaza'an bima kuntum ta'amalun. This is a reward for what you're due as well. So it's the effort that's put out. So people don't have the same maqams. On the other hand, you have to be very careful and not get in a deluded state. Because if you're serving, that's honor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you're wanting to be served, then something's wrong. So this is the trickiest business in life, is honoring people but not being hypocritical, and then also at the same time those who are people that are worthy of honor, feeling in their hearts that they deserve that honor. Because once they feel that they deserve it, they don't deserve it anymore. And so this is one of the hardest things in life, to get this thing right. So, and then also just looking down on poor people. This is very dangerous. One of the poets of Bani Abbas, in fact, his name was Abbas ibn al-Ahnaf. He talked about Yamshi al-Faqiru bayn al-Nasi. And he said, وَتُغْلِقُ دُونَهُ أَبْوَابَهَا. And the people, they close their doors when they see him, the poor person. And he said, وَتَرَاهُ مَبْغُوضًا وَلَيْسَ بِمُذْنِبٍ وَيَرَى الْعَدَاوَةَ لَا يَرَى أَسْبَابَهَا. He sees animosity everywhere, and he doesn't know why people hate him for being poor. Like he's giving a social commentary from the Abbasid period, right? يَمْشِي الْفَقِيرُ مَبْغُوضًا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. He's walking and he's disliked amongst people, right? And then he says, حَتَّى الْكِلَابُ إِذَا رَأَتْ ذَا ثَرْوَةٍ خضعت لديه وحركت أذنابها. Even the dogs, when they see somebody well dressed, they get suddenly, lapping away and wagging their tails, right? وَإِذَا مَرَّ يَوْمًا وَإِذَا مَرَّ يَوْمًا فَقِيرًا عَابِرًا. If they pass by some poor person walking by, نَبَحَتْ عَلَيْهِ وَكَشَّرَتْ أَنْيَابَهَا. They start barking at him and growling and showing their teeth. Even the dogs will do this. So that attitude towards poor people because of their poverty is a disease in the heart. And it's haram to do that. It's haram to treat people with contempt because of their socioeconomic status. It's very important to beware of poor people, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives victory because of the poor people. The poor people are the closest people to Allah because they have the maqam of ubudiyah. Faqr is our natural state. Allahul Ghani wa antum al-fuqara. Allah is al-Ghani and you are the poor people. Antum al-fuqara. All of Bani Adam. We're in a state of iftiqar. The definition of it, ilah al-mustaghni an al-kull wal-kullun muftaqirun ilay. That's the very definition of God, is the one that everybody's in a state of poverty in relation to. And yet that your Lord is wealthy and completely independent, has no need of you. So we all need Allah, He has no need of us. We're fuqara. Dunya is a welfare state. This dunya is a welfare state, and all of us are recipients of divine welfare. And so because some of us get more than others, that should be, one, a source of fear. Like, why am I getting more? Because if you think it's from yourself, you're completely deluded. People inherit money. People rob, steal, and kill for money. Idiots can become profoundly successful in this world. And the most brilliant people can live total lives of impoverishment. Right? And this is, we see this. You'll see geniuses. You have people that are geniuses in mathematics, and they can't make any money. And then you have somebody who's a complete idiot, and he's a multimillionaire who hires those geniuses to manage his money.